Morning, everyone. This is episode 207. This is the raw, all flubs, all everything version of OotiniCast. If you want the edited, sweet version, which I put far too much time into, that will be published in 24-ish hours as an MP3. Just audio only. At least in theory, I should be in glorious HD. I don't know if I am. I'll have a look at the YouTube later and just see.
looks a little granular right now, but
yeah, isn't that
maybe it'll
typical?
get better.
Whatever.
You mentioned
It's probably
there's a
because
lot behind you, so maybe that could be it.
a little, yeah, probably not enough light. But anyway, in theory, it'll get. I'm going to tune the setup here. So this is the new house and the computer room, as it were, and
It
studio.
actually looks like we've just met like the alternate version of TO, because it's like you're the same, but the entire environment around you is like darker and like cooler. So it's basically it's it's dark side TO. Looks dope.
Dark side, and the haircut they took way too much off again. So
Looks fly.
this is Army TO. Crew cut. Just watching the chat. Funny. Force Chuckle, he just quit out. And so did Dekion. We must have scared them off.
Yeah, they're not happy. They want you to be pub side forever, and apparently you've gone dark side. So
Outrageous. All right. So we're just getting going. Mr. Ivalon, did you need a bit more time?
no, I'm fine. You think it's likely we won't get to that, I don't need to. I can get through it if we have a ton of time, and you want to do it. Let's do it. I was just kind of like editing. But if not, it's fine.
Yeah. I would actually prefer to just dedicate a full Sarlacc digest just to that.
Okay.
Because I think there's enough there to.
I could easily. It should be long in order to get into the real cool stuff. It should be fairly long. Yeah.
I meant to ask you, is it okay? Do you know legally if we can play clips?
It should be. I actually started putting some together, mostly some of the main themes the other day, and I kind of just didn't finish in time, so we could do it another time. It should be okay under terms of fair use. You know, essentially, you play literally 10-second clip. That's fully legal.
Okay. All right. That would be amazing if we could make that happen. But
yeah, I'll do that. I'll do a little bit of that. Actually, that's a great idea, because there's some stuff like for instance, GSF is a very different approach to music from the whole rest of the game, and by being able to play it would be actually really nice. So I'll work on that.
All right. Okay. In that case, gentlemen, let's all make sure we are actually recording. So, Chill, you are going.
Yes.
And Ollie.
Yep.
And Mr. Ivalon.
It's going.
All right. I will be going, and I will not stop the broadcast by mistake like I did the other time.
Okay. Hang on a sec.
And Chill, yeah. Hopefully this won't run too long. So
yeah, I'm wondering if something is controlling my mic, because it went down to the mic number changed. I don't like that. Okay, should be good. I'll keep an eye on it. I'm ready to go. I'll go in 5 then.
Yes, still in Brisbane. Here's a quick answer to. Yep, go for it, Chill.
All right. Damn it! Something's controlling my mic. It's gonna screw it up.
All right. Are you running? You're running, are you?
I think so.
Oh,
yeah.
Don't forget to tweet. Don't forget to tweet.
Let me try. Okay, let me try. I'll restart the Hangout real quick.
Relax. It's fine. I think he's panicking a bit.
Never. This guy.
Can't blame him. That really shits me when things go wrong right just as you're about to go, such as accidentally cancelling the Hangout.
Oh.
That was terrible. So. And
actually, Ferris Terran. There he is. Ferris Terran dragged him right into the. Okay. See us still?
Yep. I'm also gonna change. I've also made it so that the other things that are showing, like the Twitch stream and so on, are bloody Chrome.
Someone's using the force on your mic, Chill, apparently.
Yeah.
According to Dekion. Yeah, do not panic. Do not panic. Chill, you've got a cold? It's just a cold.
So I may be sneezing. And as we know, there's
Brace for impact.
trying the right. First of all, I have very loud sneezes, but it doesn't help to just turn off the mic. So it always ends up just making more noise for TO. So
That's fine.
all right.
Okay. We good?
One question. Does
think so.
Audacity have a mute button? Does Audacity have a mute in case of something like that?
No.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Sadly, no.
That's where you need a handy mute button on the side of your headphones.
Oh, man. Got too much studio, not enough gamer. I need more gamer.
It's still messing my mic.
Oh, Christ.
Changing it. I don't know why.
What else could we do?
What the hell is taking over my microphone?
Sounds good right now.
Yeah, it does,
Well, it's
but
because
you could hear the
I
audio drop.
manually changed it back.
Mm.
Okay. Test. Okay, it's hanging on 98, so maybe it'll be okay.
If it's not,
Okay.
I'll do what I can to fix it.
Okay.
It must
Sounds
go
good.
on.
The show must go on, exactly.
Oh, Christ, there it goes.
Is it like one of the Windows options? Allow applications to take exclusive control of this device?
It is. Right, let's just quickly check that.
I've turned that off already. So,
Chill, could it have switched back on? Maybe if there was an update to the operating system, it could have just re-enabled it.
yeah. Where would that be, though?
Okay.
The settings on Google Hangout is pretty basic. It just says microphone. You click which one you want, but it doesn't give you any actual settings.
So you know your microphone icon in the bottom right tray. If you right-click on that, there should be recording devices. It should give you the list of. Yeah.
Well, I can do that.
Yeah. So bring that up. Double-click on the particular microphone device.
Yep.
And under properties, there isn't what. Yeah, change settings. Maybe no. Do you know where it is, Ollie?
Well, under advanced, there's exclusive mode.
Yeah,
That's
I think
it.
it's probably
That's
that.
it.
But do you want me to give it?
Is it ticked now?
It's unticked.
What about the second one? Give exclusive mode application priority.
When it's unticked, it's grayed out.
Yeah, tick them both.
Try ticking them both. All right, we'll give it a whirl.
Okay. Well, can't get any worse.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, it's already changed since then. Test. All right, well, we'll see what happens.
At this point, we'll just go with it, and I can try to level it. I don't remember how well that didn't work last time, but yep. Anyway, let's do this.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Be aware too. I do. All right, when you're ready.
Yep. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that believes a single spark of courage can ignite the fires of hope. This is episode 207, being recorded on Wednesday, May 27th, 2015. I'm your host, Chill, with our producer and co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys.
And our guests today are Olib of the SWTOR Network and Ivalon. And Olib, so let's... now you've had a rather interesting interview we're going to be talking about later. Go ahead and give us just the broad outlines, and then what you've been doing in-game.
Sure. So I sent over a bunch of questions to BioWare, basically asking how they work with their player engagement stats, how they use them to inform their game design decisions, which is obviously quite important because we want to see more of what we love, and it often feels like we're not getting it, or areas of the game aren't getting the support that they should be getting. So I kind of wanted to get BioWare's perspective on that. so we can cover that a bit more later. In game, not been doing that much in the last couple of weeks. Bit of leveling on my Sork. Finally finished that story. Got that to 52, and I'll probably leave it there forever. But yeah, it's not a bad story. And also I've been just trying to make credits. I set myself a goal of trying to get to 100 million, which isn't going too bad so far. I've got 20 million on one of my characters and another 100 cartel packs in my bank.
Wow.
So as soon as the market dries up for them, that should be another sort of 30 to 50 million. But that's going to take a while.
Right. That's pretty sweet, though.
Yeah, a bit of collecting. They're also nearly all the same cartel packs, so it really is quite a challenge to get rid of them all.
So you got to space them out basically over time. Yeah.
Right. All right. Excellent. Yeah, I can't wait to talk about the interview a little later. All right, Ivalon, how you been doing the last few weeks since we had you on last?
Doing good. Thanks for having me back. Very nice to be back. Yeah, like you, Ollie, I do the same thing, man. I love what I like to do is I make a lot of credits, I earn a lot of credits by crafting, and then I like to buy those hyper crates off the GTN, probably from you. And I kind of watch. I'm on Harbinger, obviously on Ootini Nights with you guys, and I like to watch the prices, and they get around 4 million. That's a good time to buy around 4 million a hyper crate, and it's fun. I totally dig collecting. I want to see that collecting interface fill out, and so I collect stuff. I've gone crazy with decorations, okay, and then I sell, like you, then I sell, they sell off the stuff. I hold on to it for a couple months and then sell it, right? I don't really hold on to the hyper crates. I just like to open them, dude. I can't help it. So I sell the individual pieces, but I'm right there with you on that. So I've been doing some of that this week. Obviously, also I finally got. I'm at that point, just like you said about your 40-something. I had a shadow who was 32 for like, dude, this shadow was 32 for like a year. Okay, he just sat there. I finally got him up to like 45, and yeah, 12x is just fun, man. And so after I'm finished with that character, I'll do a sniper. I have never done an agent. I know that's crazy, but I'm excited about I'm just gonna watch that story like a movie. Yeah, it'll be great. Like I said, I geeked out on my stronghold this week, big time. Like I had kind of put it away right after binging on it when it came out, and I went crazy, dude. Like I got onto Swarterista's or Swarter Strongholds, right, and she had that contest. Yeah, and it was pretty hilarious because her contest was containers. Who's got the coolest containers? Like the most boring idea ever. But of course, all of us understand it because we read that on Reddit and we're like, oh, yeah, containers, sweet. Yeah. I'm sure that's how she is. She's like, who's got the best containers? And I'm like, I've got the best containers, okay, like by far. So I decided to show off. No, I really don't. But I decided to show off my rooms, and I took some screen grabs. I just went nuts. And then I started, I realized, of course, oh yeah, I have all these decos that are worth 100 if you haven't bound them yet. So I started binding decos, and I realized, oh duh, my, prestige, this is why it's been so low. So I got hooked on that, and I got my prestige up to like 110K. And I'm excited now because now I'm on the front page, of the like listings every time I log in. And the best people have like... somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but the highest I've seen is like 160 maybe, 160K.
Wow.
And for those who don't know, it is actually really handy. There's probably somebody who doesn't remember or know this, but yeah, your prestige is basically, obviously you get 100% completion on a given stronghold. It's not hard to do. You can do it with trash. And then what I do is remove that, obviously everybody does this, remove the trash as you're really decorating and making it look cool. And then I started just binding more and more more and more decos, and that brings up your personal prestige, and that number times the number of decos. What is it exactly? Yeah, that brings up your stronghold prestige. Anyway, I've been getting all into that. Somebody correct me if I said that wrong. And I got the other thing about this stronghold is that it's a speeder bazaar, a speeder bazaar. Okay. Like I decided I'm not going to just spam the speeders, okay? They're going to look tight. They're going to be amazing. And I've got like all the, I've got the Ranco, I've got everything in there. And then I try to make it look cool. So I've got like 120 speeders in there now,
Wow.
which I'm kind of proud of. It's close to all the speeders. I want all the speeders. But of course there's not enough hooks. So if you don't want it to just be spam, it's tough. You've got to like figure out which speeders to omit. Anyway, I went nuts.
Right.
Lastly, I did a little pugging. I love ops, but I have a pretty bad connection compared to most gamers, I think. And I cannot find a pug that can get past the Underlooker in story mode. Like story mode Underlooker. Every pug I've been in just like fails. There's a serious problem with like patience. Nobody, none of these pugs have any patience at all. It's such a bummer. But I'm trying to get back into it and just sort of try to become that person who can know enough about it to try to help everybody else. But my connection's not great, so that makes it hard. Anyway, it was still a lot of fun this week. Way too much procrastination.
Have you tried Underlooker since 3.2 came out, where they nerfed the hell out of it?
Yes, because I tried it once this week, and we did. I thought we were going to get it down, but somebody would, not make the cross. My connection has trouble sometimes, apparently, rendering the cross immediately. It renders late. It's weird. So sometimes I have to guess where the cross is going to be. I haven't found a pug that can get past it. So I'll have to, make like a newbie, Ootini Knights newbie raid group, and go bang our heads on that. Jawa Joyride.
We could drag you through it.
We need Kuze for Jawa Joyride to take all the newbies through there.
That's true. That's true.
All right. And Tio, how about your week?
Well, not much to it, unfortunately. We did raid on day one, which was Thursday night US time, and we made a few more attempts on Colossal Monolith, which went suboptimally, unfortunately. I can't actually remember where we were going wrong. It turned out to be more a healing challenge than anything else, as we've talked about previously. Anyway, we eventually got
successfully do the
Simon Says.
Simon once. Yeah, so at least we know that we can do it.
That's true.
So
That's true.
it's a matter of practicing at that point.
Yeah. Anyway, we had some time left because it was the usual shortish session, though we may be extending that. We'll see. And so we just did the 3 hard mode bosses that we have on, I should say, farm. So Malafar and Sparky were easy enough. Bulo was actually a bit challenging for whatever reason. It shouldn't have been, but we did get him down eventually. And that was it. Now, we fully intended to have the full group together for day 2, but I moved on Friday after the raid, and we're in our new place now, which is fantastic, but the problem was the internet wasn't, it was supposed to be connected, but it turned out it didn't work when we moved in, so I was without internet all weekend. They did finally get it fixed earlier this week.
Cool.
Yeah, so
Bandwidth rough.
Oh yeah, so it's 100 down, 40 up, which is just incredible from relative to anything I've had before.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds great.
Maybe you could put some of that bandwidth in an envelope and like mail it to me.
It's usually the other way because Australia has terrible internet generally. So you have to pick and choose where you live if you actually want decent internet. But anyway, aside from that, I haven't actually played at all because by the time it came back up, I haven't really had a chance. We're settled in now, so we are planning lots of gaming this weekend to make up.
Nice. Yeah, moving is incredibly time and energy intensive, so not surprising at all.
Anyway, that's my week. How about you, Chill?
All right. First, a shout out to the chat room. Let's see. Ari's here. Beware 2, Dekion, Force Checkle, Fim, Fionha, Hellion. Ivlon is here. Carmen, Maybe Buzz, Nepthan, Pink Fluffy. Snave, Zamzam's here. Dark Edge Gaming, Darth Brundlefly, Gas Guy, Loki Tripper. Let's see. I assume that's a random name. Olib's here, and Palace. And let's see. And Jazzy Cat, I see in the Twitch has talked as well. So, hello everyone. And let's see. I got Chill Hulk up to level 59, so almost there. All on stream, which was really fun. So thanks to everyone who watched and chatted and all that good stuff. My favorite quote was from Dark Edge Gaming. It was when I was on the tram on Corellia. And he wrote, since traveling around Corellia is ass, the fact that the trams look like giant suppositories is somehow appropriate.
It's true.
So that was pretty funny. All right, so let's see. I'm gonna skip that. Yeah, I wrote down this grammatical thing that was bugging me on something that C2D4 says, but it's not really worth mentioning.
Chill. I have to, even though you're not gonna, I have to chime in and say the same thing bothered me about the word consular, because they've had all this week people have been saying counselor, the Jedi counselor. No.
Oh, right.
Consular.
Right. Yeah, they're different. Yeah. Yep. So, well, okay. I'll briefly mention it then. C2D4 refers to his former employer a couple times. He refers to her as her eminence with an I. It should be her eminence. Her eminence, not her imminence. She's not about to arrive or anything. She's
Indeed.
her eminence. She's high and mighty. Anyway, okay. So I have that out of my system. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And also, apparently, the regular story, and then, excuse me, I do have a cold. So coughing and sneezing may happen. The Ilum and regular story took me to 55. So after some thought, decided to just go ahead and start doing the Rishi flashpoints and so on. Found out that after you're at 55, it doesn't matter if you've done Macabre or not, the 12 times experience turns off.
Yes.
So even if I go back at this point and do Macabre, it will be regular experience and not 12 times.
It is level gated. Yeah.
Somebody shared a tip for that on Reddit, which is to bank up your quests, so you hand them all in at once at sort of 54 and bump yourself up to 57.
Yes, that would be a good way to do it. That would be an excellent way to do it. Actually, if you can, I guess you can.
I think it said you could save 3 mission hand-ins.
Right. It's going to mess up your crew skills, but yeah, but it'd probably be worth it. Could be worth it. All right, and then I put some screenshots from the streams, which was fun, and then the first one I thought was interesting. It's I've noticed that for all the flame. Whenever there's a flame on the screen like this, then whatever's behind it turns into line art. Like you can see it on the first one there. Oh, yeah. It's kind of interesting, yeah. It's kind of cool when you see it in game too. Yeah, it's like there's the flame, and you can still see whatever's behind it, but it's going to look like line art. So that's cool.
Well, see, it's because your character, if you let it sit like that, your character's about to be pulled into the Take On Me video by a member of AHA. That's exactly what it looks like.
That's right. Quick, find the waste paper basket. Yes.
Yeah. Funny looking.
Yep, and then just a couple of other random ones which are fun. So her holding a gun and a nice close up. So yeah, so I'm planning on doing some war zones and just to do a few before I hit ding 60 and then finish up. I guess I'll do part of Yavin, that'll ding me 60, and I'm not sure what the plan is after that, but it's been fun. All right, so that will bring us to the tip of the week, and gosh, we have 8 of them this time. And Teo, you wanted to start with the first one.
The first tip is from our guildmate Suki. So this week, my account for some reason would not allow me to log into SWOTOR on raid night, of all things. I tried the normal steps of repeating the password and security key attempt on both the website and SWOTOR client, but no luck. I then remembered that the account we use for SWOTOR is an EA account, which is linked to Origin. So I tried to log in there. That did work. My account and password were correct. Still no login to SWOTOR. So I attempted to reset the password via the SWOTOR website, and that did work. I got the password reset email and changed my password. But still the login to SWOTOR failed. So time to call EA support on the phone. After a short wait on the phone, I got a really good tip on how the linked passwords work for Origin and EA. It seems the password is synced from Origin to EA/SWOTOR, but doesn't really go back the other way. They told me to change the password on the Origin site, and this would then force a resync back to SWOTOR. So after changing the password via Origin, everything worked with 10 minutes to go before raiding. So there you go.
Wow, okay. So actually Origin is kind of the prime mover, apparently.
And this is the answer to that issue that someone had where they had forgotten their password, but they had a security key attached to their account, and they couldn't remove their security key to go back to change the password. Anyway, it got complicated. This way, you could actually use Origin, change your password there, and that would actually force the reset of the password. So you would at least get it fixed that way. It's a bit esoteric, though, but if it works.
Alrighty, let's see. Next tip from Sanu of Utini Nights and Utini Rage. And this is similar to what you're saying, Olo. Here's a tip for those who can't get enough 12 times XP. When you're 54 on McKeb and finish the mission that would take you over 55, close the reward window. The reward will go into pending, and you can run another McKeb mission. Its reward will also give you 12 XP and can be closed into pending. You can then run one more, kill or explore your way to close up to 55, and then accept the 3 rewards, and you'll be right on the cusp of 58. Obviously, you're still going to have to do all the Revan stuff afterward, unless just hitting 60 was your goal. But all that content will go much faster with the extra levels, especially since you'll be 60 for all of the Yavin content. And let's see. P.S. As always, let's see. Thanks for the great show. I finally finished all 8 classes, so I won't be around in-game very often. But I'll still listen to the cast to know when to show up for new content, and I'll probably pop in from time to time to piddle around. It's been fun. So someone who, so definitely Sanu likes the leveling game, so I can understand.
Yeah. Chill. I'm just wondering if it's worth rebooting your box.
Okay.
Or we got to try something, because this is going to be a nightmare.
Right. Why don't you go ahead and read the ones that are also for me, and I'll just try to come back in as soon as I can.
All right.
Yeah,
what about your recording? If you're going to reboot, you have to be in 2 slices.
Oh God.
Yeah. Stop it, save it, export it, and then start a new one when you come back in.
Okay.
All right.
Will do.
Okay. I'll just keep reading from here. Alright, our second tip is from Daphine. New 12 times XP can quickly have you out-leveling your gear and then having to pause and re-gear using your basic comms to upgrade every so often. I know it's not that big a deal, but I did the work on the front end and have been pleased with the results. So my solution is take all that legacy gear you automatically get from GSF crates and throw it in your legacy bank. Then log to one of your toons that is overflowing with basic comms, like my raid toons that have been 60 for a while. I then choose some level targets like level 12, 29, 39, which should get you through to 47, and then onto bolstered McKeb. We don't have to worry about your gear. I hustled over to the fleet basic comm mod vendors. I then made a set armor at each of the aforementioned levels for all 4 primary stats. So that's 12 sets of armor. Then just shove them all back in your legacy bank. End result, you may ask, a virtual smorgasbord of armor to pick from along the wave for you and whatever companion you like. Unless you share primary stat, but then you just make more. It didn't take that long to do, and even that many comms overall. Plus, using this method, you will always have armor laying around for any ult you do in the future. That is a great idea, and with the outfit designer, you're not stuck looking like ass based on what some of the legacy gear looks like. You really can pick your look and then just sub in the legacy gear as much as you want. So I have been tempted to do something like this, but haven't yet. But maybe it's time.
Yeah, this is a lot more viable now that we've got the outfit designer, obviously. And after playing with the outfit designer, obviously, it's cooler than. For me, it's cooler than I thought. There's a lot of utility there.
Yes.
I was going to mention also, we should mention at the same time with this. This is obviously a great tip, but we should also remind people that, and I don't think that this is thought of as an exploit because it's been in the game for a long time. You can go to the McKeb vendor and buy for like 36 basics. You can buy a lockbox for 36 basics, and then put it in your legacy bank, and another alt goes, grabs that lockbox, and refunds it to a vendor, and guess what? That alt now has 36 basics, so it's one way to transfer basic comms, unless they've removed it. I haven't used it for a bit, but last time I tried to use it, it was still there.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. Yes, that has existed. In fact, there are various other items that do exactly the same thing, and
Yes,
for a lot,
might be an exploit. Leave that in at your or take it out at your leisure.
Yeah.
I
It's
feel
become
like,
so well known now that.
yeah, my feeling on it is we should share it with people who don't know, and also it's really the same thing as this tip, which is using it's a way to get your basic value from one. This tip from Delphine is to get your value of basics from one character to another. So it's essentially the same exploit, you could say.
It is, but this is a little more as intended, I guess.
Yeah,
so
probably.
it boils down to the same thing, really.
Yeah.
All right, and Delphine finishes with, P.S. Thanks for the great show and everything you guys do for the community. Even though I haven't been in the game as much recently, I'm still living vicariously through your show. I appreciate it a lot. So thank you, sir. And yeah, I've got to say, this is one of those consequences of 12 times XP where you let people play through all of the stories and then what?
Then what? End game, Tio. End game.
Yeah, end game.
End game. Which is
all those operations that
Or you just ditch your characters at 50 like I do.
Right.
Indeed. Okay, so our next tip is from Hori, who says, in episode 206, Chill mentioned that free-to-play accounts cannot participate in ranked PvP. I just wanted to mention that preferred accounts are able to run group ranked as long as a subscriber puts them in the queue, and I do know that we have mentioned that previously. Wow. And I know, Ollie, you brought that up in your questions to BioWare that we'll be talking about later. So yeah, anyway, if you are in a group, as long as the subscriber in your group, you need at least one, actually puts you in the queue for group ranked, it doesn't matter, you can be free to play. And it just works fine. Alright, next tip is from Nick. He says, hello OotiniCast. I have been listening for about a year now and love the podcast. Still consider myself new to MMOs and am learning as I go, with SWTOR being my first. That's something we've heard a lot, actually. A lot of people, SWTOR is their first MMO, and that's really cool. Star Wars just brings them in. It's a good thing. Anyway, he continues, I've heard many times on multiple podcasts about capturing screenshots and wanted to present another option. I personally couldn't get the Dropbox option to work, that we talked about last week and have mentioned before, and didn't want to pay for fraps just to be able to natively save in JPEG format. Admittedly, a minor nuisance to convert it to any format from the free option of Bitmap, BMP. Problem with bitmaps is they're fantastic fidelity, but they're massive because it's effectively uncompressed, whereas JPEG and other formats like that are compressed. He continues, in digging around with the EVGA precision software that is available for overclocking and fan profile adjustment, I found a built-in screen capture function. Options allow for a choice of formats such as a bitmap, PNG or JPEG, and a global hotkey choice. Also, there is no perceivable frame hiccup, like when the built-in screen capture actually does work. EVGA's precision software should work with most NVIDIA-based graphics cards, and users of AMD cards may want to look at MSI's Afterburner software that looks to have a similar screenshot tool. Options are always good. I just wanted to give what has been working well for me. Still need to decide what I will do with the screenshots though. Again, I love the podcast and always look forward to listening to it, as well as the Galactic Gamers Coalition. Next one of those coming in early-ish June. Chill will be hosting that one. And we've already lined up who's going to be on, so it's coming. Anyway, may the force be with you. So thank you for that, Nick.
That's all right. I'm back trying to get it all set up. And nope, already the mic number has changed.
All right, we had to try it.
Let me try Firefox. See if that changes things.
All right. Okay.
All
right, let me just keep reading through the remaining tips while Chill does that. This is going to be an editing nightmare. I can tell. All right.
Outsourced to India. Just saying.
Mumbai. We'll get them. Yeah. All right. Our next tip is from Jason W. Hey guys, little tip for those that need to go AFK and don't want that XP boost or Steam to expire while they are gone. If you just enter a conversation where you have to make a choice and leave it there while you handle business, any buffs you have are suspended as long as you're in that conversation. Helps get that last little extra out of whatever you have on. There you go. Yep, we have mentioned that. I think I've tried that, and for whatever reason, sometimes it didn't work. But
yeah,
for the most part, that should work.
I got to chime in. Absolutely. The last time we had a double XP weekend, I was all excited to use this. And
Test.
I'm pretty sure it didn't work.
Yeah.
Not sure if I did it wrong. I'd left somebody in a conversation, and it definitely expired while I was in a conversation, from what I could tell. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure which particular conversations are.
I've done it, but not recently. I did it with like a GSF XP boost about 6 months ago.
Okay.
There's a lot of variables there, huh? It could be different conversations. It could be different XP boosts. It works. Some it doesn't. You never know.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, Jill, how you looking?
All right. Well, I've got Firefox up. Nope. I just had the number change on me again. God damn it.
All right. Let's just stick with that, Jill, and we'll just go with it. There's nothing else we can do at this point.
Do you want me to just not even touch the volume thing and just let it go wherever it wants?
Yeah. You're not. How often are you manually?
I've tried just manually holding on to it, basically, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't help at all. Just keeps rolling anyway, right under my cursor, even with the mouse button held down. So it's freaking useless. I don't know what's going on. Goddamn Hangout.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, with Chill's volume jumping up and down, there's actually not much I can do with that. It just, yeah. All right, Chill, I'm going to read tip number 6 from Kelly, then I'll leave you to do one from Kanatoko and wrap that up.
All right.
All right. So, next tip is from Kelly. Hey, got a couple tips. Number 1, if you have noticed your outfit designer is not saving your color matching of your chest eye when you log out of load screens, this is likely due to you having only one outfit tab. Definitely a bug, but there is a fix. Buy a second tab and put empty shells in there. Cost a bit to stamp them and buy that second tab. But once you have 2 tabs with different looks, your color matching will not reset after logout or load screens. Bloody hell. All right. Okay, so there you go. They really should fix that. Second tip from Kelly. 186 purple relics are fairly cheap on the GTN and are craftable by Artifice. So if you are a fresh 60 via 12 times XP, the crafted ones are a good way to get a couple relics that you may have for a while until you get another drop from operations. When shopping, look for ones that are augmented. This means that the craft are critted and an MK10 kit is automatically applied. So when you think about the costs, 42,000 to add an MK kit to any piece of gear, plus the cost of the MK10 kit itself, which can be another 40 to 60,000 if you don't make your own. So you can get an MK10 augment in a piece of gear earlier than you might normally due to the cost and be more effective in operations and flashpoints for a fraction of the price. Remember, you can pull the augment you put in that slot out and use it on your new relic when you finally get the drop, so no wasted credits there. As a side note, most DPS classes want Rusan Relic of Serendipitous Assault and the Rusan Relic of Focused Retribution as relics, and those are the power proc and the main stat proc. Yep. Cheers, guys. Long time listener. Thanks, Kelly.
All right. Excellent. 7th tip is from Charlie Kranatoko. He wrote in an actual tip I do have. Helpful it may be. In the early crew skill leveling stages, where gathering missions take a few minutes before you head into a conversation of some kind that you don't intend on skipping, send all available companions out on a mission as the crew skill timer continues to tick on while in conversations. Then once the conversation is over, chances are your companions will have returned with materials and your skill level has increased. All right. And the winner, by random allotment, is Sukai. So congratulations, Sukai. You're the winner of an M8R3 Droid Pet Code or Tonfon Pet Code, courtesy of BioWare, your choice, and an OotiniCast provided Cartel Market Pack from the latest shipment For a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com, normally by next Tuesday. However, the next episode will be recorded on Tuesday, so Monday would be even better.
Isn't next week's show, that's normal, isn't it?
Isn't it? I thought it was the next, isn't it the next one that's the week up?
Let's see.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's June 3rd. You said you needed to do that one on Tuesday?
No, June 11th.
Oh, June 11th. Oh, okay.
Do you need to do next week's show that day early?
Yeah, actually.
All right, so we'll be doing it on a day early for the next couple of weeks.
All right.
All right, where were we? However much of that you want to redo again, Jill? Maybe just the last one.
Let's see. For a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Tuesday. Or, since we're doing the next couple of episodes a day early, by next Monday would be even better for a chance to win the same. And that will bring us to the Hollow Feed. Tio?
Right, let's start with game update 3.2.1. As we heard last week, it was to be deployed on Wednesday, delayed a day due to Memorial Day. It was an 8-hour downtime. At least it was announced to be, and that was only a few hours ago. Basically, the servers came up and there were apparently all kinds of problems from what I was reading. Firstly, the West Coast data center, the West Coast servers took an extra at least a couple of hours to come up, and on the East Coast, the Shadowlands and maybe one other server, they were having login problems and they had to bounce it at least once, maybe twice. As far as I know, everything is now resolved, so everything should be good as far as logging in. It's a fairly meaty patch. Took a little longer to install than I expected. The changes, what's in it, is pretty much as we described last week, and so of course we're not going to go over the changes in detail, though there were a couple of things of note. Though as far as the long downtime goes, we had a couple of comments from the community, from Darth Brundlefly. Why so long? What are they doing? Better than cross-server groundwork tech? Cue Twilight Zone music.
Maybe.
Well, you never know. Something else that had been sort of leading along those lines was the fact that character transfer servers had been down for a few weeks and was announced to be coming back with Game Update 3.2.1. And as of now, character transfers are once again working. So people were sort of assuming they took it down because they're going to merge all the servers, and so why would people be Yeah, anyway, no. No, you can still transfer characters, and the servers are exactly as they were before. Was it groundwork? Maybe, or maybe they were just doing a general cleanup of the database or a hardware upgrade. All these things happen.
They're just trolling us. Sad face.
Perhaps.
We're trolling ourselves, actually.
Indeed. And as Michael B. said, maybe, just maybe, the Harbinger will disconnect less. Hashtag false hope. Well,
it's been doing better. Hasn't it been doing a little better lately?
Yeah, it had been, and then it sort of crapped out. Was it last week?
No.
I've lost track. Yeah, exactly. All right. Anyway, as far as the patch notes goes, the only bits I wanted to call out were, firstly, the Narshadar Nightlife event will be starting on June 9th. So next Tuesday, a week from next Tuesday. Bounty contract week is on now and will conclude next Tuesday. So there'll be a week of no events. Then the Narshadar Nightlife event that will continue through for 11 weeks until 25 August. So you got a lot of time. We still do not know at this point exactly what is going to be on the, or what the prizes are going to be, or whether there's going to be something different on the vendors to exchange for your certificates. Though according to some, I won't talk about that. So we'll just have to see. I don't recall if we mentioned this. The emergency fleet pass and quick travel cooldowns that had been changed with 3.2 for subscribers, and in the patch notes were supposed to be for preferred as well, are now applied to preferred players. So that was a bug. It was entirely intended, and things have been changed. So they get the same 0 cooldown quick travel if you get the 3 levels of legacy unlock for, and the obviously 0 emergency fleet pass as well. So that's awesome. Preferred players. in the cartel market, there was a new deco. It was supposed to be in the latest pack. It is the Temple Chair basic version, not the ornate version. The basic version is supposed to be in the pack. You could actually preview it in collections. And it's another one that they kind of screwed up. It wasn't ever actually intended to be in the pack, so on the assumption that you bought that pack because you wanted that chair, I guess someone could have. They're now going to sell it for 1 credit, as I have done previously where this kind of thing has happened on the Estran Exports Reputation Vendor. No rep requirement, of course.
Okay.
So you can fill out that chair, as we all will, for 1 credit.
That'll be 322. Okay.
That will be in Game Update 3.2.2, which raises the interesting point that, as we heard previously, the next thing on the PTS is going to be 3.3, and so there was some speculation about whether there would be a 3.2.2, but there will be, because they've just mentioned it. So, yeah, all they're going to do is that one will not be on the PTS, which does imply there won't be any class changes in it, because they have been trying to let us try them out with mixed success as far as that goes. It is a nice chair. Yeah.
Just to chime in on the chair here, just so everybody knows, not that this would be me or that I'd be the person doing this, but seeing a new deco and apparently starting to drool for no reason other than that it's a deco with 100 prestige points. Of course, everyone should get all 50. If it lets you get 50, get all 50. Bind all 50 because some people might not know. Of course, the first one gives you 100 prestige. Every additional bound chair gives you 2 prestige, so that's an extra 100, right? If you
Just
do
about,
all,
yeah.
So absolutely should always, when they give away these freebies, get as many as it'll let you have, and it'll get you an extra 100 prestige.
Cool.
98.
Good tip.
Yep.
Something.
All right, now just a reminder that if you PvP, they did do that change to the resolve system. So now if you're at full resolve, something that would have rooted you will now actually slow you by 50% for the duration of the route. So,
all right, I need to
that
try
goes. Set bonuses. Now, last week when we went through the patch notes, I mentioned that the Arcanian Combat Medic / Bodyguard bonus had been fixed. But they didn't mention the set bonus on the current gear for troopers, for commandos. But they have updated the patch note. Apparently it does apply to all. So they've just fixed all the Combat Medic Bodyguard sets are now working as intended. Well, not quite. Not quite. Apparently they now work like the Mercs does, which has been bugged apparently, well, they're saying for a long time, so that whenever you enter a phase or switch phases, they stop working. The set bonus stops working. You actually have to take off the gear and put it on again to get the set bonus to work. So, as far as we know, that's still broken for Mercs, and now Commandos, previously they didn't have it at all, but now they can get it, but they have to do the same silly dance that the Mercs do, is what it boils down to.
It's still
a form of class balance. Eventually everybody has to do this.
At least the Republic now has the opportunity to get the set bonus, but yeah. So anyway, they know about it. Yeah. Anyway, that is Game Update 3.2.1, live as of now, assuming the servers stay up. All right, just a few other things in the news. Someone asked whether, after their big shutting down of the credit seller ring that we mentioned a couple of shows ago, someone was saying, I'm getting 150% more spam.
Yeah. Actually, that was happening on my stream, during my stream a lot of whispers from gold spammers.
Right.
Anyway, probably averaging 2 an hour or something like that.
It's out of control. It's like they changed up their tactics somehow, or it seems like it definitely started happening right when they cracked down.
Yeah.
Maybe almost a direct response to it. They had a new tactic lined up, and so when the old one stopped working, now they're doing something new, and there's no counter to it yet. So anyway, they can't go into details about what they do to track this and how they will fix it, but they're on it. They know about it. It's just a matter of time until they shut these guys down as well.
I just have a creative on my clipboard, just ready to paste. A creative series of explicatives laced with adjectives, and I just paste that right in. Report, ignore. That's 3 things right there.
That's not a bad idea. My tactic is to, for all my characters now, I don't see general chat anymore. I just switch it off. So that works great. I never see it at all, unless they do a /yell, which is
until they whisper you.
Yeah, well, there's nothing you know about that. All right, next, win trading. We have another update on win trading in ranked PvP and trolls in ranked for season 5. We sent out another round of warnings and action against players who are participating in win trading or being trolly in ranked play, in their words. Providing some additional information. Many of you requested we be more upfront about the action they're taking. And you were right in asking for that. Our aggressive action against these players, along with being upfront and transparent, has led to fairly substantial changes. And so he has some numbers. Numbers are always good, if potentially... anyway. Since we started communicating about win trading and the actions we were going to take, nearly 90% of the previous reports and related win trading activity has stopped. In addition, the majority of trolls have stopped their behavior, and over 50% of those players have ceased completely. So that is a little misleading. And so the actual interpretation is that they mean they've stopped queuing for PvP, and in some cases they mean playing SWTOR at all, as they were suspended for their actions. So either stopped queuing or they've just stopped playing SWTOR because they can't, because they've been stopped. Anyway, so the win trading continues. The action against the win traders continue, and apparently has been quite successful, in theory, based on these numbers. So
good.
Yeah. Someone also asked, how do you tell someone who's trolling versus someone who's being deliberately bad or throwing a match for win trading or whatever? And they can't answer, because if they said exactly what the heuristics they applied were, then the people who are trying to win trade or whatever could game the system. So they say they are using many different data points and a combination of triggers in those data points. So it's complicated. So there shouldn't be false positives, in other words. All right, next. All right, so this post was about people were posting on the official forums blaming Dolphy because they had prepared for this week's conquest and it wasn't what Dolphy's guide indicated it would be. And firstly, Musco's post was, you shouldn't really be calling out a website on their official forums, because that's just silly. What's even sillier is that we're not supposed to know what the conquests are in advance. The information shown on Dolphy has been data mined. And data mine stuff, for what it's worth, it's all very interesting, but BioWare is absolutely not obliged in any way to follow it, so they could change anything under the covers, and no one would have any recourse at all. And blaming Dolphy for that really is silly. She's providing the information obtained by the data miners, such as SWTOR Miner and SWTOR Potato, whoever.
But
make use of that at your risk, at your own risk.
But we couldn't get our crafting set up ahead of time, T.O.
People were saying they lost millions and millions of credits because they were doing the whole pre-crafting game, which is how you win Conquest. Oh well. Yeah, the reason it was screwed up was because they did the Relics of the Gree event twice. Presumably everything's pushed out, or they've just rejigged the schedule somehow.
Okay.
Ooh, I like that word. Rejigged. Coined. Hashtag coined. Like it. Using it.
Shooting the messenger. Yes, as someone said. Oh, and Snape pointed out, TalkCommunity.com was right, because they've got the data miners doing it. It's fresher, shall we say, than what is on Dolphy. But again, no matter what, use at your own risk.
Well, both sites seem to be creating separate niches from each other, which is kind of niches, should I say, which is kind of nice.
Yes, they are, though there is still quite a bit of overlap. All right, next we'll mention the live stream that they have announced, which is going to be next week, Wednesday, June 3rd, from 4 to 5 p.m. Central, which means if we're recording a day early, we won't get to see it, so we'll have to talk about it the week after that. It'll be on their Twitch channel. What they're going to be showing over the course of the 1 hour stream is some of the new content we've talked about, which is coming this year. See, I got excited there for a second when they talked about content that's coming this year, but then they said it's the stuff they've already talked about, which we can actually, as they go on to say, they'll be walking through the entirety of the new Yavin 4 stronghold, and they're going to be telling us about the Togruta, the new species, playable species.
Very nice.
Maybe they'll drop a bombshell at the end, but I wouldn't guarantee it. Remember, the next big reveal is 15 June at the EA press conference for E3.
And let's hope Yavin has lots of hooks. Tatooine or larger. Wouldn't that be nice? Please,
They have said Yavin 4 will have many, many more hooks.
Awesome.
They made a point of that. So at the cantina when they announced it. So yes.
How many speeders do you reckon you can get in there?
Well, bigger
500.
hooks too.
But how many are in Tatooine? I'm actually not sure. Is it 500? Maybe more like 390. It may be 390. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Could I chime in real quick on this issue of June 15th?
Please.
I think it's June 15th. There was an interview. I want to say it was Corellian Ren Radio, I believe, did the interview this week with a dev, and he said something along the lines of, "We are all going to be pleasantly surprised by whatever is announced on June 15th." And I think that's interesting because I like to speculate about this stuff. I think that's a pretty interesting thing to say because to me, I think what it does mean is it's probably not, I do think it's going to be something slightly bigger than just a regular 2.0 style or 3.0 style update to the game. Sorry, not update, but
Expansion?
Expansion, thank you. I was reaching for that word. I think it's going to be bigger than a regular expansion. I do think that partly also because we know the Shadow Realms team has been integrated back into SWTOR some months ago, that we're going to see something bigger, obviously tied to the movie. I don't believe in the whole SWTOR 2 rumor, but I believe it's something in between. This is bigger than 3.0, but not as big as a new game. But it is something. I think it is 4.0, but I think it's going to be more significant than what we've gotten so far. That's my theory. I'm sticking to it.
What amuses me is when I have suggested that on Reddit, there's a bunch of guys who said, but they can't possibly release 4.0 because we're only up to game update 3.2.
Yeah, I saw that.
4.0 by the end of the year. Yeah, so let's just be clear. They are under absolutely no obligation to go all the way up to 3.10 or whatever. They could do 4.0 after 3.3 if they wanted to.
Yeah, well, they've never
like
heard of
law.
They've never heard of Microsoft. There's no Windows 9 that I can remember.
Yeah, version numbers are arbitrary. We just make that shit up.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Irfan?
Oh, no, that's my theory. We'll see what happens. I'm excited.
Yeah, I agree that it will be at least a Shadow of Revan size expansion with 5 more levels probably. If it's bigger than that, that would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Pleasantly surprised. I'm currently haunted by the nightmare that BioWare is actually also working on a new MOBA, a Star Wars-based MOBA. And that's what the team at Austin are actually doing, in addition to working on Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yeah, we do know that. Well, yes, a third AAA Star Wars game is supposed to be floating around out there somewhere, and it was supposed to be BioWare that was doing it, right?
Well, Visceral, I believe, is working on one, and they was talking about maybe that was the 1313 re-envisioning or something.
That one has not been announced. Yeah, that one has not been announced. But there was a third game when EA made the big announcement. What was it, over a year ago, about the Star Wars games that'll be happening? They had said that in addition to SWTOR, correct me if I'm wrong, in addition to SWTOR, there was another game being assigned to BioWare, a Star Wars game. Maybe it's that MOBA. I'm not sure.
Jeez. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what they said, but we'll see.
We don't know what division of BioWare is doing it. Right?
Yeah, and if they're going to announce it at all, 15 June would most likely be where they're going to announce it, along with Fallen Empire, whatever that is.
Speculate
All right.
wildly.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I should also add that as far as PvP goes, they were asking whether there's going to be any changes to systems, and there is an interview with the Bad Feeling podcast that those guys did, Brian and Chuck did, with Alex Modney from the PvP team. That will be out this week, and apparently there's some reveals about some actual changes to the systems in PvP, if
Oh,
not
cool.
new content, but we'll see. So you should be listening to Bad Feeling podcast anyway. A really good
Yep.
reason to tune in this week.
Yes, please.
Good week for developer interactions.
It is. It is. I'll just mention brief. We had the EA quarterly earnings call, which I've talked about a while ago, and they also put in their 10K annual report, and they actually mentioned that the revenue for Star Wars: The Old Republic had decreased in the last fiscal year, year on year. So that's never good, but then I guess they haven't been pushing out things as much as they would have liked.
It's possible that coincided with Kranitoko's vacation.
Anyway, Charlie actually put some thoughts in. He commented on the show notes, as all our patrons can do if you sign up on OotiniCast.com/Patreon or Patreon.com/OotiniCast. Both will work. Anyway, Charlie says, actually got a little confused at first when I read things like 1,481 million, which I assume means billion. Yes, Charlie. It's slightly sad to see that SWTOR isn't in the list of the big money makers this fiscal year, but so long as it generates enough money, then I'm happy. However, it'd be nice to know a month-by-month basis on where the money for SWTOR goes, how much for staff, resources, voice actors, and how much EA simply put away for rainy day money. Also remember there is a licensing fee to Lucasfilm, LucasArts, or Lucas or Disney or whatever. That is a chunk. Of course, we shall never know for obvious reasons, but if publishers were more open about the subject, much like those on Kickstarter where some developers give detailed charts on where the money goes, then there probably wouldn't be as much of a feud as there is on the content in the game. Maybe. I don't know.
Depends what the answer is.
Exactly. All right. Now you've already talked through that, Yvonne. I believe that under more speculation.
I pretty much did. Yeah, I put that in there.
Okay, I'll skip that. All right, just a bit of community news. Thanks to our latest Utini patrons, Dafine, also known as Hollow, who put in one of the tips this week, and our old friend Kirsten, who was at our Utini Cantina. Thank you both. We're up to $71.50 per episode. Remember, I'll officially announce our new milestone target is $95 per episode rather than $100 because of contributions made outside of Patreon. And if we reach 95 per episode, we will develop our OotiniCast documentary, a video presentation. So, yeah. Let's see, I wanted to mention SWTORstrongholds.com. We mentioned SWTORista's competition last week, the container thing that Yvonne mentioned as well. She's put out a Stronghold starter guide. It is very detailed. It is excellent. Well worth reading. If you, just read through it. Even if you are an accomplished decorator, there may be some tips in there for you as well. And if you haven't really got into it, there's some great ideas.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and for people who are kind of getting into it, I don't know why I happen to get into it now, but if you are kind of getting into all that again, it is fun to go on their site, and you'll notice they really do have a need for cool screen grabs. So, especially decos. So go in there and just do a few. It's really fun, and pretty soon we'll have a really nice stack of screen grabs for everybody.
All right, and I do want to plug Drew and Joe's. That's Geldarian, Drew, and Joe Foreign's Casual Core Radio. Their podcast has been going for a while now. It's a sort of generic MMO podcast. They're still playing SWTOR along with other games, and they've got this great If I Was a Dev segment where they're both effectively designing their own MMO in real time, each doing their own version or variant of one, and it's very interesting and entertaining to listen to. Well worth listening to. That's casual core radio, you can pick it up in all the usual places. Anyway, that's the news.
Alrighty, that'll bring us to the force feedback where we read out your tweets and emails. And chat room, if you have any questions to ask, we'll be gathering now to answer once we're done with the feedback. Ferris Terran wrote, the keyboard shortcut for Stronghold is U, whereas H is for Starfighter. That one makes some sense at least, meaning hangar. That could work.
Yep.
I still don't know if I'll be able to remember either of those in-game, but...
I'll still click on the icon, I'm pretty sure.
Exactly. Jagger wrote, you could do a new player podcast and call it the OotiniCast.
Now, Chill has some fantastic ideas. Chill, do you want to talk about that, or shall we just leave it for later?
We'll go ahead and leave it for now. It's still being developed, and we have it also needs to happen sort of after some other things in real life happen. So yeah, but we've got some ideas for newer players, so that'll be coming.
Good. Yep.
Yeah. Scott S. via Facebook wrote, hey, OotiniCast, been a long-time listener and a big fan of the show. Every now and then I hear you mention your character aesthetics, so I thought I'd show you my latest alt-turned main. I went for a bit of a groovy feel on this. Hope you dig it.
We'll include these pictures in the show notes. Chill, could you want to put this into words?
Sure. Basically, if you like purple and pink, this guy's for you. He's a big old size 4 dude with cool mutton chops and funky hair, all in purple, and a big old gun there. Pretty sweet.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget the pink astromech.
That's right. He says you need the matching pets and speeder, of course. He has the pink astromech droid, and of course the Rendili Watchman, the purple sparkly, which is one of my old favorites. Very nice.
So purple. Yeah.
Yeah, he vaguely reminds me of Meatloaf from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Kind of get that vibe. So.
It's a little bit, probably a little bit less heterosexual, but definitely purple Meatloaf.
Yeah, I'm digging it. I'm digging it.
Chill, can I read the next one? Just let's minimize the variation to your mic thing.
All right, bring my mic back up.
All right. Chill, can I read this one?
Yes, go for it.
So Orza via Reddit said, regarding the Sentinel/Marauder changes, besides Watchman Annihilation's crappy 6-second dot spread, one of you stated the utilities look nice. But think of this. They changed defensive forms because it was mandatory. The new defensive forms is still mandatory for maximizing DPS. Sentinel/Marauder is the only melee class with a plus 15% movement speed in Masterful. Operative, Assassin, and Power Tech have it in Skillful, which is the lower tier. That leaves Guardians and Jugs, but Vengeance, Vigilance get it in the tree, and Tank gets the plus 30% speed boost when guarded target takes damage. The class and the class already has Friendly Leap, leaving Rage/Focus Disciplines, which has an extra short range gap closer. Finally, the talent where being attacked reduces the cooldown of the leap. So, Sentinel/Marauder is the only melee class with Root/Snare Breaks only in Heroic. Operative, Assassin have it in Masterful, Power Tech has it with Hydraulics as baseline. So, wouldn't it be nice to have all the Marauder utilities? Sure, but you can't. In terms of quality of life, I fully expect hardcore raiders to continue to pick Brooding/whichever gives plus 30 Fury by channeling the self-heal, then quickly respeccing. That makes sense. And I know, Chill, when you were on your Sentinel, you were always doing that before we pulled. You just did your regen and built up your 30 stacks.
Right.
And anyway, also goes on, this is failed game design. Annihilation/Watchmen is, in my opinion, the melee spec with the lowest amount of mobility. You have to use the leap in the rotation for focus/rage generation. The plus 15% movement speed will be very hard to afford. And I fully expect the new resolve mechanic to further mess with things like force sleep, etc.
Interesting.
Maybe. If anything, you would think it would make it easier because you can actually force sleep if you're rooted now. You'll just be if you're full resolve. So it should improve it. But maybe there is some unintended consequence.
Okay. Yeah. So the debate continues.
And there is much unhappiness in the community for Annihilation Watchmen, that's for sure.
Right.
Still.
Nah.
All right, Zernoff wrote, so I've been playing since beta, and today I decided not to resub. There just isn't too much to do, especially if you're not a progression raider. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy clearing this story mode and some of the hard mode content, but I'm mainly a PvPer. Season 5 has been terrible. It's got to the point where I look at the season rewards and I'm like, oh, cool mount. Well, wait a sec, I think I'll just wait until the cartel market equivalent comes out, because it's not worth the stress. Plus, the pops keep getting slower. POT5 server is dead, and I hesitated to transfer the Bastion because I have the feeling the Bastion will become the next Prophecy of the Five in a month or two. So I went to the Harbinger, but I can re-level tunes only so many times, even if it is 12 times experience. I'll be back in a month or two, but I'll end by saying the game needs something big. Not really sure what, just something.
That does seem to be the overall impression. And again, 15 June, then we'll see.
Yeah, let's hope that what they're going to announce involves a fix for this. It seemed to me like they should at least have by now merged the PvP servers. Like, as much as everybody has loyalty to their server as they should, why not merge the PvP servers? It's like just that would solve the problem or help solve the problem short term. But hopefully, yeah, let's hope they really do have that big solution and soon. It's pretty sad right now.
All right, and Teal, were there any questions that you saw in the chat rooms?
Not yet.
Okay.
All right. How do you want to do this, Joel? Introduce, basically get Ollie to.
Yeah, do a quick intro here. Alrighty, that will bring us to the Sarlacc Digest, where we go over the issues for 1,000 years, or until we run out of time. And we're going to talk about Sorter Network's talk with the BioWare's manager of analytics, the stats and game design decisions interview that was just published today. So, Oleg, why don't you go ahead and take this over and tell us a little bit about how you got the interview, and then we'll go into the details.
Sure. So basically, the idea came up just because from time to time you do hear stats brought up as the support behind a particular game design decision. So one particular one that I kept seeing come up was that free-to-play couldn't queue for PvP unless they obviously have their first 5, or they queue with a subscriber, or they buy the pass. So a lot of players were kind of thinking that if they just open that up so free-to-play players are free to queue, then it would solve a lot of the queue issues. Obviously, BioWare don't agree with that. They talked about it a little more in the interview, but I kind of wanted to, rather than just write a post, kind of having a go at them or exploring it on my own. I thought, why do that when I can just ask them the question? So I did. I prepared a bunch of questions. Got some thoughts and suggestions from Tio and a couple of other people, and fired those questions off over. It was a 3-month process in total.
Wasn't that long?
To get them back. Yeah, I checked it 23rd of February that I sent them. But yeah, I think it's just a case of preparing them all and getting having it go around the BioWare multiple times, get every answer signed off and revised, and that's just, I guess, how long it takes. And there's a lot of thought that's gone into them. And obviously, they're doing me a favor for a fan site and answering a fan question. Then obviously they've got work to do as well, so can't really complain.
Yeah, that makes sense. There probably is, because they don't have a lot of public facing, it probably did take a lot of extra going over by management to make sure everything was copacetic on their end.
Yeah, that they hadn't accidentally revealed something or said that actually we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, that's a systems that doesn't get revealed a lot, so it was interesting to read this.
Yeah, when I mailed it over originally, I didn't know if it's something that like Musker would answer himself with like some input from others, but to actually get the manager of the analytics team involved and have him personally answer the questions is great. Especially because I don't think before we even knew there was an analytics team. I mean, obviously we knew they looked at stats, but I don't think we had a kind of clue to what that involved. But it sounds like obviously a fairly big department that's obviously pretty active and very busy.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And Tio,
Right.
since my mic is causing problems, why don't you go ahead and, like, if you want to help, I'll go, bit by bit through it. I'll just pipe in whenever I can.
All right, so how about this, Ollie? I'll go through each question, quickly summarize the answer, and then we can talk about it. Or do you want to actually
sure.
do that part?
No, that's fine with me.
Okay. So I got distracted then. So apologies if you already covered this. If you did, I'll just cut it out. So the guy who was answering your questions, his name is Alex Tremblay, and he's the manager of analytics. As you were just saying, it's a fairly big group there at BioWare Austin, and he's been working on SWTOR since well before the launch of the game. So this whole analytics thing, he doesn't say he's been doing that since before the launch of the game, but he's certainly been on the project. And if you remember, way before launch, they made a big point of the fact that SWTOR would be data-driven. Some of their early developers did talk about that. They showed us some like heat maps of where players were dying in beta and how they were using that to guide their design. I remember that was pretty early on. And it was always their intention to make sure that they would look at data points, all kinds of data points. All right, so Ollie asked him, explain a bit about the process, the analytics process, and then how often stats are analyzed and who reviews them. So he goes on to just go into detail about the team, several analysts, a BI, business intelligence developer, and they're supported by a data warehouse, server and gameplay engineers, a server engineer, gameplay engineers. So a data warehouse is just a fancy name for a big database. Usually has all kinds of facilities for extracting data from it. But so all they're doing is accumulating this huge volume of data from all kinds of things. He says telemetry, as in all kinds of information about people playing the game as it goes, is being captured on a daily basis, transformed and loaded into their primary data warehouse. From the system, they produce dozens of reports and dashboards that act as the business intelligence side of the service. So they're producing reports for their producers and other staff, management, no doubt. And dashboards is effectively a live display. So I'm imagining that producers will have things on their desk or on their screens that will actually show different aspects of the game, like how many people are currently doing various things. That would just be my guess, but that's what it sounds like. And it's a job of this team to produce that kind of thing. Take all that live telemetry and actually produce a both live display for the use of the team as well as for later processing.
And Ola, did you get a sense of what the business intelligence developer did on their team? Because I wasn't sure exactly what that phrase meant.
Not in particular. I don't think they kind of broke down individual roles too much. They did say somewhere that they have people, I think, situated within various departments within the game development. So like within PvP teams and operations teams and stuff like that is what I took it as. But yeah, not individually what those roles were.
Yeah. So on top of this, BI operation analysts embedded directly with the teams provide ad hoc support to answer questions that aren't answered by our static reporting. So in other words, if throughout the team people may have a particular question, they can actually go to this team and say, figure this out based on all the data. And he goes on to kind of go through the process. And if they don't actually have the data points are currently being collected, they will actually add that telemetry. He mentioned that a couple of times in terms of, I really should be able to think of an example, but yeah, you can imagine a certain aspect of gameplay that isn't being measured now. If they need to find out about it, they will simply add that hook into their game, and the impression you get is they can do it live, though they don't actually confirm that.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like the whole process is like very, very fast and very flexible. I get the impression they can find out pretty much anything, whether directly or whether they have to do a little workaround, but it seems like they can probably find out pretty much anything. And yeah, obviously quite quick as well.
Yeah, and as they confirmed explicitly, and you asked that, and they said the most complex kind of query, which is probably extremely inefficient on processing the data, could take as long as like 10 minutes to run,
Mm-hmm.
but that's like very worst case. Often would be effectively instantaneous. Remember, all this data is just being stored in a data warehouse, and where that kind of stuff is designed for fast access. You can do queries over massive data sets extremely efficiently, typically, as long as it's
Yeah, because
designed
I
properly.
know with some companies I've worked at, obviously less professional systems are in place, and reports like that can take hours or even days to run, and that's without having the kind of data that they've got to be collecting there. Because you've got to imagine with the amount of players playing, there's huge volumes of
You can imagine,
information.
couldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. You know, CCP has been doing a lot of this. Well, obviously, all the MMO developers must do a lot of this, but CCP lately has been doing for the creators of Eve. They've been doing some things where they try to visualize this type of data and make it available to players, which is kind of interesting. Of course, that
That
kind of
would be
fits in with
interesting.
the way the game works.
Yeah.
Make it more public.
They asked him, what level of granularity can you drill down to? You remember on that infographic they published a little while ago, the advanced black-yellow fortitude crystal was the most popular. And the answer he gave to Ollie here was, technically speaking, no limitations on what data they could capture at any level, though certain legal restrictions do apply. Now, I'm pretty sure they didn't explain that, so...
No, they didn't. The only thing I can take that to mean is that maybe if it got to a too personal a level, maybe they can't identify information with particular individuals. I know that's the case with like online analytics packages in some cases.
Right. So, like what people are saying in chat, they probably can't tie it to accounts or something along those lines at a certain bulk storage. They could probably do it specifically if they're like tracking down harassment cases or something.
Yeah.
But just for general analytics, not so much. Something at a guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They gave us an example. Advanced purple Hawkeye crystal, it's only used by 3.08296%, not repeating, of course, of the aforementioned population. So even though it's the most popular, it's still not very popular overall. And that took about 55 seconds to figure out, so running the query over the data. So the kind of things they could be tracking is...
So that was cool. He actually answered a question live for you, essentially.
Yeah,
That was
because
cool.
I'd asked what the most popular color crystal was at level cap in the last 30 days.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, I said 55 seconds to figure it out. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It makes sense. The purple outline crystal, I mean, isn't that the one that was given free to everyone, all the subscribers anyway? Yeah. And then the Hawkeye is power.
That's the power one.
So
yeah.
by most of the specs. That's cool.
Are the limitations on what data can be retrieved? And if so, are there situations where you like concrete figures to help with the decision, but the system just can't provide it? And so, in essence, yes, that can happen, and they will add in hooks so they can answer the question in future.
I think that somewhat got answered in my previous questions, but obviously I didn't know the level of detail they'd go into with each answer.
Exactly. Because this was not an interview. Ollie had to provide all of these questions up front, and then they just gave us answers for all of them.
Right. Kind of interesting that it mentions a couple of times in this answer that one of the main hang-ups is actually legal collections. He didn't go into great detail, but clearly there's some sort of legal stumbling block as to how close you can get on this data gathering.
Does the reporting / stat side of things need continuous development, or was everything in place from the beginning? And they confirm the telemetry system, as in collecting all the data live, and data warehouse were in place from the start. And as time has gone by, they have modified the system to be more responsive, more complete, and simpler to use, as you would hope. Can you share a few examples of situations where engagement stats have influenced or even been the determining factor in a game design decision? So a very key question that Ollie was asking here, because that's what we have been wondering. Has it been actually guiding? And what has become popular in the game, such as tactical flashpoints emerging as a very common thing. And so the answer from Alex, engagement is a major function of the team. Clearly learn that things like accessibility and rewards are major motivators of participation. They're always trying to build a clearer picture of what our players need in order to have a more positive experience playing the game. And 12 times XP is a great recent example. Through analysis of Rise of the Hutt Cartel, the McCabe expansion, we came to the realization that returning players found their old characters hard to engage with. Too much stuff in the inventory, unfamiliar abilities, changed skill trees. And they worked with the designers to implement a solution that addressed this issue, as well as gave us an opportunity to experiment with something that could well have been risky.
Wow. Not to mention that whatever math they had to, I mean, it's probably more complicated than it seems, whatever math or analysis they had to run in order to determine that 12 times was not too much or too little. Just the fact that people apparently would rather roll a new character than deal with all that all that stuff. It's hilarious.
Right. Yeah. And they also give the example of tacticals. Our regular monitoring of PvE content turned up a substantial discrepancy in usage between the Zerka and other tactical flashpoints. Working with design and quality assurance, they developed a hypothesis as to the cause, tested and verified its veracity, and ultimately increased the reward per time spent to align them more closely with similar content, which was a fancy way of saying that the Zerka flashpoints didn't give you much bang for buck as far as the drops went.
Right.
So, yeah. So they could actually see that from the data. People weren't playing it. They looked at and they determined why, and they were able to fix it, which is kind of cool.
You think that's the kind of thing that could be applied in quite a few areas of the game as well? Because there's quite a few things, particularly events, I think I touch on later. They're a little bit stale in that department.
Well, it gives you a lot of hope, doesn't it, to think that there is this entire department who is thinking this is the kind of thing we like to complain about, right? Like GSF, for instance. Like, why haven't they done anything with GSF? Well, apparently there are. It's not like they're not aware. You know, they are aware, and they appear to be tuning or planning to tune all different parts of the game in the way that they tuned Circa eventually.
That would be the hope.
Yeah.
And then Ollie asked the really key question. From the player's perspective, it sometimes feels like you've jumped to a conclusion based on the stats, despite potential mitigating factors. As we obviously don't know what's discussed at Bioware, do you feel like factors that may influence stats or make them less relevant are being properly considered? In other words, is the data driving them to do silly things? And Alex's answer is... yes, it is certainly a thing that they worry about. In fact, he summarized the chief responsibility of the team. Their job is to consider all possible information when providing guidance to the game team. And guidance is a key word here. Data, nor insights derived from data, has no direct decision-making authority. We strive to present objective analysis to our producers so they can make the most informed possible decision as to how we ought to proceed in conjunction with the consumer feedback. Eric Musco helps communicate what players say. Alex's team helps communicate what they do. In fact, Eric is often his first stop when investigating something new that he's seeing in the data. So in other words, Eric's team, the community team, is gathering what the community is saying overall, just on all kinds of forums, and the analytics team is actually saying this is what they're doing, as in, well, no matter what they say, the data will actually tell you what they actually do with their time. So, yeah. And there is an old truism, don't always give users what they want, because as Ford, who created one of the first car companies, said, if you asked people what they wanted back in the day, they would have said faster horses.
Right.
Cars. So sometimes, even though players may say they want something, they may not know what they really want until they've actually seen. So, all right, what else we got? And following on from that, was the recent decision to double down on story content, as we've seen is their driving thing this year, driven by stats, community feedback, or is it just the fact that it's a Bioware game and that's what you want the focus to be, as in that's just a strategic decision not based on anything? Or is it a combination of the three? And Alex says it is all of the above. It's a type of content that engages the broadest portion of our community and tends to be the stickiest, most engaging experience for players. Finding a way to increase the cadence of our story content generation is also an important focus. Increase the cadence.
Which I guess is what we're seeing with Zyos now. Obviously, that's got the issue that it's not repeatable, which I know is what a lot of players are being stuck on at the minute.
And thus they want to increase the cadence, they want to churn it out faster. But you've got to wonder, it seems like it's a real limiting factor. You can only do it so fast, no matter how much.
That change in cadence, I guess, going back to Forged Alliances Part 1, where we were getting story every month, right, for a bit there. A little bit of story, one flashpoint every month. Then we had a 4 or 5 month gap between Shadow of Revan and Rise of the Emperor. So
just feels like you need something to sustain you in between, or you need that story content coming almost monthly or something.
Exactly. Right. You need both. Story as often as you can, but then also some kind of repeatable something. Don't care what it is, but something.
How about a new Warzone, for God's sake?
Well, as Suki said, as far as what they could do is like what Steve Jobs did with Apple and what Apple tries to do as a company. Don't give them what they want. Tell them this is what you really want. So, of course, you have to actually, you need a certain amount of charisma to make that happen. But it's still working for Apple, even without Steve Jobs. Look around for all the people with the Apple Watches.
Apparently, we do. We want Firewalkers, we want Bondage Nexu, and we want Purple Meatloaf. Those are the three things.
Okay. Are you able to discern whether someone's intention when leveling, that is, playing story content, is to enjoy their content or just get another ult to endgame? For example, my 12 times XP ults were ditched once I hit 55, as I'd seen the story. So you may be able to see in the stats that the focus was story and not in-game. And they certainly try to, Alex says. They developed some new metrics to test this out. Less than 10% of our player base seem to be primarily motivated to get to the end. The rest choosing to experience the story that exists. Wow. That's kind of amazing, actually. So
I would say, though, I feel like that might have been slightly misinterpreted by some people, particularly on Reddit that have talked about it so far. They've kind of taken it as 10% of people are interested in endgame and 90% of people aren't. But the focus of the question was obviously about leveling and the speed of leveling, trying to push to max level or just kind of meander along and enjoy yourself.
Right.
While still doing endgame, so it's not like they're mutually exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah, makes me wonder if they keep track of like how much spacebarring you do in story content.
I would absolutely say, that would be an obvious piece of something to have in their telemetry, because you do want to see that. It's a key engagement stat as far as the story goes.
A keystroke that runs into the tens of billions, no doubt.
Yes.
Yeah.
You believe for the first 5 minutes of KDY.
Oh God! I just want to see that one analytic, just for KDY, the space bars.
All right. They talk about. You asked them about in 2.4, Game Update 2.4, when it launched, that the free-to-play Warzone restriction would be removed. Or so they said at the time, but it never happened because the stats, as they've subsequently said, show that only 1.4% of free-to-play players that participate in Warzones hit the weekly limit. Therefore, queues wouldn't be improved. And I think we've talked about that before. That is an interesting way of looking at it, but if you know you're going to hit a weekly cap, why bother to participate in the first place?
Exactly.
So, yeah. So anyway, that's a question I'm always asking.
You were clearly dancing around that fact when you wrote this question, weren't you?
Yep. So anyway, the answer was...
They may not be participating in war zones at all due to the cap being in place. Since the limit handicaps their progression as they struggle to earn enough commendations for the gear to make them competitive.
So why bother? Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So Alex's answer, they do consider that type of information, but as you mentioned, it can be hard to determine a precise number of players that might otherwise play You can't tell what they would have done. Regardless, given the volumes of participation, it would be hard to justify making a change when we see such little uptake. That's the kind of thing you have to experiment with. Run it for a month or two and see what happens.
I suppose the issue they have there is if they remove that restriction, is it something they can put back without pissing a lot of people off?
Yeah, but if you make it a strictly temporary thing, a summer bonus or whatever,
Yeah.
summer of PvP for all, free for all.
Right.
Mm.
That would be a good way to go about it. Give it a
As long as
test.
people know going into it that it's a limited thing, then if it gets extended, of course, it's a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes on to say there may be better ways of improving queue times for PvP and matchmaking, which obviously would maybe be made better by adding free-to-play players. And he said you touched, progression, he reckons, is a potential thing that would actually make queue times and matchmaking better. Currently, our reward system rewards extensive play, which helps you gain experience with sweet gear. These compounding effects can make it difficult for new PvPers to get invested in this content. Something else to keep in mind when thinking about these types of topics is that when you might call the subscriber valuation trade-off, anything given to free-to-play players is, in a way, something taken away from subscribers, or is no longer unique to subscribers.
Right.
Generally speaking, subscribers are our most loyal and dedicated players. They play the most, stay around the longest, and ultimately give us the most money, which is extremely important for a business. Encouraging players to become subscribers and maintaining the value of subscription will always be a primary business goal.
In other words, they're afraid that if they make it free to play, some people will unsubscribe and just enjoy their PvP without playing, which I obviously can understand.
Yeah, so even though SWTOR is technically a free-to-play game, the experience is always that much better if you subscribe. And subscribing is always going to be important because that's how they make their money in addition to the cartel market. And if a game doesn't make money, it gets shut down. So they can't give this stuff away for free. I mean, it's just simple. Yeah. All right, which of the rest do we want to cover? You asked about, similar to point above, even less measurable, have you considered the way free-to-play restrictions in general may put off former players that may otherwise have returned? Apparently it's something they talk about a lot. And the problem they're trying to solve is for revenue optimization alongside player satisfaction. Revenue comes from players who are having fun. It is what allows us to hire developers who build new and fun experiences in the game, being conservative about making changes. Doing so incrementally to protect the aforementioned valuation is necessary to ensure a long-standing, well-maintained game. So in other words, they can't rock the boat too much because they'll upset all those people who are currently giving them money. So they could try and change something big, and it could be really risky, and there could be a massive drop-off in revenue. And that could be fatal.
Ends on a slightly positive note, though. We might be seeing something change, maybe.
Yeah. As I was reading this, I was seeing they were dropping hints about what's coming. So he says, as we move through this year, we're looking towards new opportunities to increase the value of subscriptions and extend the unique gameplay experience that players love most, giving us the confidence to be more flexible in what we allow free-to-play players to do. Interpret that as you will.
Opportunities to increase the value of subscriptions and extend the unique gameplay experience that players love. Which gameplay experience would that be?
Well, that's story, apparently, based on everything they've said before.
Apparently. Yeah, because earlier he said, well, we know they seem to love story the most. Yeah.
I guess there's a lot of possibilities, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens there.
Yeah, I can't guess either.
That's a little bit. I feel that's a little disappointing, just because that does seem to be what it's saying, and it's kind of like this is a massively multiplayer online game. It's been talked about a lot recently. This is meant to be a group play is a big part of this game, and I really love the single player story stuff. But man, they can't just have that, or else they should reclassify the genre of this game.
Alright, now Ollie asked him about progression fuels a lot of player activity, however certain aspects of the game have gone long periods of time without offering much to incentivize players to participate, including GSF, hard mode flashpoints, and events. Because they don't add new stuff to events. GSF obviously has had no updates, hard mode flashpoints in the latest tier. The gear just wasn't worth it. Once you don't, and the comms as well, so what's the point? There is a concern that when you review player engagement, Ollie went on, for areas as a game such as these, you may draw the wrong conclusion that players aren't interested in the content when in fact you're just lacking a reason to participate. And so they go on to say, completely understand that, they're getting less attention than others, and they go on to say it's all because of limited resources. That is, they would love to add stuff to everything, but it would mean cutting something else. They only have so many developers, and so they've got to pick and choose where they focus their effort. And so they're focusing their effort on what overall, broadly, is what players want.
Somebody raised a great point here. I've forgotten if it was in the comment section on the website or if it was on Reddit. But they said in response to this question that they update the cartel market all the time because it doesn't require many development resources to do. Which is fine, that's understandable. But then why can't they add some of the things that they develop for the cartel market as rewards to GSF or extra rewards for PvP or to flashpoints, so that even if they don't add new maps to GSF or whatever, you've still got a new incentive, a new reason to dive into it.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
As adding to the cartel market is the easy option because it brings in cash directly. Yeah, and if something's going to turn up on the cartel market eventually, why bother?
Yeah, and it just seems like the cartel market is an easy way for them to make the money, because what they're doing is, as they're developing a new story or a new expansion or an update, they're obviously creating new sets of armor anyway for the characters in the story and for the NPCs. They're creating armor anyway. So all they have to do is a little more tailoring, a little more whatever work it takes to make that stuff available, or take, for instance, that next zoom out and just make a new skin. I mean, I'm sure the amount of time, and obviously it takes time, but the amount of time as it relates to the dollars they're going to earn on it is obviously a huge. So that's why we keep getting these packs.
Yeah.
But I mean, a reskinned Nexu on a GSF vendor will encourage people to go and do that. They don't have the credits or don't want to buy the coins, so it shouldn't be that much extra effort for them to add a few more rewards here and there.
You're right about that. Why not just put something on the GSF vendor? Exactly. I know for me, if there were new decos on the GSF vendor, I would go play more GSF. It's just true.
Suki says GSF could drop ships as decos, that kind of thing.
That would be cool. There's a lot of cool ships that are not decorations yet.
Yeah. All right, moving on. With the introduction of ranked 4v4 and PvP seasons, YOLO, you only live once, ranked has become fairly successful. Player feedback seems that success is mostly reward-driven, as in the rewards for each season. However, group-ranked PvP remains unpopular, with the group-ranked population too low for spontaneous pops. Players need to have a know-how in the PvP community to try and get a match going. Win trading. This is a threshold making group ranked less accessible to a larger public, and it seems arenas having 4v4 instead of 8v8 has not solved anything. Do you agree with this assessment? Any plans on how to address it? And Alex agrees that ranked PvP is a relatively unpopular part of the game, and solo ranked is more favoured relatively. Though the removal of 8v8s was an unpopular decision, it did lead to a dramatically higher participation in ranked PvP.
Wow.
In other words, no one did ranked PvP when it was 8v8s, or very, very, very few. So even though not many people do the current arena-based ranked PvP, it's still a lot more than did 8v8.
Okay.
But 8v8 was pre-season as well, wasn't it? They didn't have any extra rewards.
That's true. So there was no incentive
Fair
to
enough.
do it. So
That's true.
Yep. Larger server populations that produce better, more competitive feeling matches would be a start. Simplified PvP gear progression that allowed players to compete on skill rather than time sunk could increase volumes. We've talked about that as well. There are two main question categories that we have to answer. What are our goals? What do we want ranked PvP to look like? who should it appeal to, and generally, what is it that we want to accomplish, and how likely are we to achieve them? How do we balance the likelihood of improving the situation? What are the realistic upsides in terms of breadth and depth of engagement? And how do these priorities tie into our other development considerations? Sounds like they're doing a lot of soul searching. It'll be interesting to see what does come out of that interview with the Bad Feeling guys.
Yeah.
And obviously they've touched on a few points there that I don't think anybody would disagree with. Larger server populations, whether cross-server or mega-server or just more players.
Yeah.
Competitive matches obviously is what a lot of people ask for. Even mentioning improved guild features there for a stronger community. If it's good to know they're all on the mind, I just hope they have the resources to implement them one way or another.
Yeah. And the sad fact is, if so few people do this at all, even now, even when it was at its height, why would they dedicate more resources to bring people back?
Well, it's a little bit like, I mean, if it's the 1%, you know, the 1% is vocal and active. I mean, for instance, whales in the game, whales being the term for people who buy all these cartel packs, are probably a low percent. PvPers, ranked PvPers are clearly a low percent. That doesn't mean that they don't have value, because they do bring a lot of energy to the game, you know,
Right.
PvP generally, and it does spread their energy and their enthusiasm for queuing. Yeah, so I don't know how they measure that. I mean, that's not really a metric you can put on paper, I don't think.
Well, from our experience, PvPers such as Snave and Laurie M in chat, they're quite clearly unhappy with this particular interpretation. And yeah, you got to say, I mean, how many people didn't do ranked? How many people would have done ranked PvP when it was 8v8 if they actually did the seasons, so they actually had a reason to participate? But were unwilling to do the 4v4 because they hated arenas, because it's just straight deathmatch. I mean, we all know real war zones are more fun. From my own PvP experience, the real maps, the 8v8s, that's where it was at.
Agreed.
Deathmatch is just deathmatch, which has the only real advantage of it is it's quick. That's it.
Yes.
And
Quick, once you're in it, just try getting a pop.
I thought it was also interesting that he goes into the idea of improved guild features that would help support the PvP. That's interesting, because we haven't heard a lot from them about improving guild functionality at this recently. So that's interesting that it's coming up.
Anything that could support it, yeah.
Good to know at least that's being passed to a manager at some point. It could be a recommendation.
Well, there's so much stuff that could be coming, and we can speculate, but we need some hard answers. He's dropped a lot of hints here, though. All right, let's go to the last question, so we're almost done. Are you able to share any new fun stats? This is a good question to end on, Ollie. For example, how many times has Revan been defeated in the main story and or operation since the expansion launched? What's the fastest Hutt victory, etc.? Well,
they were
for
purely
Alex,
examples.
Well, he says, personally, all data is fun to me so long as it tells me something that I didn't know before. Learning is the key. Alex sounds like a really interesting person, gotta say. But here's something that to me is more important. Bioware Austin developers spent over 62,000 hours creating the Shadow of Revan. You could actually reverse engineer their team.
Oh yeah,
if you wanted
really
to.
could. You really could.
Maybe. Since the launch of SWTOR, current Bioware employees have logged 78,000 hours of playtime on their personal accounts outside of the office on their personal time. We have an employee who's logged over 6,000 hours of game time by themselves, and several employees who, since the beginning of this year, are in the 98th plus percentile of total game time played. And MMOs attract some seriously hardcore gamers. If I were presenting to Bruce McLean, producer, or Jeff, what the hell's his name?
So those are actually some pretty good numbers there.
Yeah.
Or
Quick
Jeff in a
math,
meeting. This is the point where I
is,
put up the summary slide. We love this game a lot. Making SWTOR the best game it can be has been a part of our lives for the better part of a decade, and we want it to be part of our lives for another one. While not all of our decisions have been perfect, they've all been made with the same goal in mind, creating fun for as many players as possible in the richest and most engaging fictional world ever created. This sounds terribly like they're defending their jobs, but It is a very positive way of
does.
portraying the passion that the team clearly has and would like to continue to have in the future going forward.
For another decade. Oh boy, yeah, it does sound like that. Ollie, what a great job, man. Great
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you,
It is
and
great.
thanks. Thanks to Tio for that, because as well he helped me out with a couple of the questions and some ideas there, and Ravenel of the Revelation blog as well helped me out with the PvP question, as I'm not that into ranked because it never pops for me. But yeah, overall I think it turned out great.
Yeah, man. And like Tio said,
Yeah.
it's a it's very revealing if you kind of read it carefully, and it's really great stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome how much effort that Alex clearly put into this.
Mhm.
It was worth waiting for, even if it was 3-ish months to get back to us. And that wasn't just Alex, that was a certain amount of vetting, apparently, that had to go through this.
Yeah, I think it really did the rounds.
Yeah, because I suspect he gave away more than he actually has here. So they've been very careful here, but you can read a fair amount into this in terms of what's coming up.
I think the only thing obviously we have to be careful of is some of that might sound like we're getting something, but at the same time that might just be their suggestion.
Right.
But the resource issue that you mentioned could be a limiting factor.
Keep your expectations low, low.
It's so hard to do that. It's so hard to do that.
I know, and we'll all be pleasantly surprised come June 15.
That's what he said. Was it Alex who said that? Not Alex, but Nick. The dev Nick said that the other day.
Nicovola, yeah.
We'll be pleasantly surprised.
I want to be more than pleasantly surprised. I want to be blown away. But,
Always.
I just pictured the two different Tios. The Tio who is pleasantly surprised when he logs into SWTOR and says, "Huh, and the other Tio who's like completely blown away. I don't know if I've ever seen the completely blown away Tio, but he exists. He's out there.
yeah, well, let's hope he has an opportunity to come out to play.
I think you need to set up a camera for like a reaction video. Given a chance that could happen.
How about that? Yeah, I'll record myself watching the June 15 presentation. And
Oh, good. Like people can, yeah, like people recording themselves watching the Star Wars trailer, and every single one of them ends up like this, with like tears running down their eyes like this, but they end up by the end of it.
Well, we'll see. All right. Anything else we want to say? Then let's wrap there.
Okay. That's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then ask for the quiz that lets us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live on Wednesdays at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Although the next couple of weeks will be on Tuesday. At least that's the plan. Our theme song is from Mevio's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mevio.com. That's MEVIO. And thank you to the chat room, and thanks to Olib and Ivalon. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me. It was great fun.
Yeah, thanks
Once
for having
again.
me back on.
And we'll see you next week.
See you in
All right,
game.
guys. Keep recording. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Yeah, not a lot of news, but we had these awesome questions and their answers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was cool. Next week, recording a day early. And we'll be recording a day early the week after. Shame about that, because otherwise, next week, we would have been able to go through the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it would have only been like an hour and a half before we record, so I doubt we would have had much opportunity to really go through it. And anyways, with the mighty Stronghold and the Decruder, so how excited. How much detail will that be? All right.
Chat room, you guys are awesome. You guys are cracking me up right now.
Yeah, thanks, Dekion. This is going to be a challenge. But they always are in some way or another. All right, we will see you next week on Tuesday, US time. Peace.
Bye.